It's Evan Lazar and Tamara Brown in studio getting you ready for Patriots at Bills. Evan, coming off this miracle at Mile High, what's the offensive approach against the Bills?
I like that, miracle at Mile High. Can we dub that the name of that game? I think the biggest thing with this Bills game is which Bills defense do we see? Because the first time around, the Patriots really seem to have them figured out, using a lot of different motion, misdirection plays, things like that. Pop Douglas, very first play of the game, catches the ball, goes upfield for 10 yards. They seem to have a really good plan against this Buffalo scheme, and Bill O'Brien did a nice job in that game. So does Buffalo completely change what they do and kind of game plan differently this time around? Because if you give them the same deck, they're going to play the same hand, or do you change, kind of stick to what you do and stick to your guns? I think that's a really difficult thing about this game that might lead to some, early on struggles until it kind of declares. And then I do think the Patriots can find some offense against a pretty banged up Bills defense.
This is also a different offense this time around because the first time it was Mac Jones under center. Now it's Bailey Zappe.
Yeah.
What do you want to see from him?
Well, they're very different quarterbacks, as I think what we've learned to kind of see is that Bailey Zappe is much better going down the field. His passing numbers over 10 yards were significantly better than the short game, whereas with Mac, I think the short and intermediate areas of the field are kind of where he lived. And against this Bills team the first time around, that's where a lot of the opportunities were at that 1 to 15 yard range, let's call it. In this game, if he's going to have to throw a ball down the field like he likes to with Bailey Zappe, it's a little bit of a different game plan. So I'm looking for them to build off of some of the things that they did in structure against Denver. Like the Pop Douglas play down the field is great, but how many times are you really going to recreate a play like that if you're Bailey Zappe? But if you can do the stuff that you did well within the confines of the scheme, then maybe you can build on some of these things.
Flipping over to the Patriots defense, this Bills offense now is running the ball more effectively, but of course the Patriots defense has been really stout against the run.
Yeah, they've gotten Josh Allen back involved in their running game, and I think that's been a big part of it, along with James Cook, obviously. But with Josh Allen being more involved in some of those read option plays, now you have defenders on the backside of these runs that have to respect the fact that the quarterback could keep the ball, and that obviously makes it a more 11-on-11 game, and it's more difficult to defend, for obvious reasons. So I think that that's a big part of this game plan from the Patriots is how are they going to handle those design quarterback runs. Now this year they've been a lot better against that than in years past, but it's been a minute since they've faced an offense that really can do that at a high level. But I remember, going back to week 1 against Jalen Hurts, they did a pretty good job of bottling up Jalen Hurts in that game. They're going to have another plan this week to not allow Cook and Allen to take over like they did against Dallas, for example, where I think Cook had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns for my fantasy team as well. But that was, one of those games where the Bills really ran it all over the Cowboys, and the Patriots are going to have to avoid that.
So we've talked about Cook, we've talked about Allen, but the guy when you're looking at this Bills offense on tape is Stefon Diggs. Obviously, this is going to be a tough challenge for the Patriots defense, but how are they going to neutralize him?
Yeah, it's really the money downs is when he goes to Diggs the most, and as you would expect, third down late in the game against the Chargers, who is he going for? It's Stefon Diggs, even though Gabe Davis had a big game on some of those broken plays, and a guy like Khalil Shakur has really kind of developed here and come along in this Joe Brady offense. But at the end of the day, it's Stefon Diggs, and he's given the Patriots a lot of problems. I think for this Patriots defense, they blitzed a lot the first time around, and they tried to speed Allen up and almost fight chaos with chaos. That was like kind of our theme that week. And same with the Patriots offense against the Bills defense. Do they stick to the same plan and hope that Allen just doesn't have answers this time around? Or do they completely change it up and maybe play coverage this time around instead of bringing all the pressure? That I think is going to dictate a lot of the matchups on Diggs. Because if you're bringing pressure, then you don't really have the extra bodies to be doubling him and things like that. You're hoping that the rush is going to take him out of the game. But if you're playing more coverage, then maybe we will see some of the double teams or some of the tilted coverages that we've seen in the past.
All right, Evan, before we go, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your projection for the outcome of this game?
Well, I think this game's going to go a lot like the Week 18 game in Buffalo last year, where I expect the Patriots to come out and have a decent first half in this game. And Bailey Zappe, even though wasn't really the case in Denver, has been pretty good in the first half on the whole. I would expect the Patriots to be in this, but ultimately too much Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs at the end of the day. It just feels like when you have those big money players, when the money and the chips are in the middle of the table, those guys are going to make maybe a few more plays than the Patriots guys are. But that's not the case in Denver, but that's kind of the way I see this one going.
That's all we've got as we get you ready for Week 18 out in Buffalo. For more content leading up to the game, go to Patriots.com and Patriots YouTube.